Hello. Those of you who have watched for a while, you know me well enough to know that generally, whenever I'm going to do an important subject, I usually like to wait until I have all the information. I don't like to just wait until I have enough information to make my own ideas about things. But I think this topic is big enough that it needs to be addressed and looked at. So, and I think it's also big enough that we're not going to find out any actual information about that. Everything's going to be speculation, possibly for years. So, I'm going to look at everybody else's speculation, and then I'm going to give my speculation on what is happening right now with Donald Trump and the wiretapping allegations against the former President Obama. So let's look at it right now. So let's see what the mainstream media has been saying about everything that's going on.
Now I want to turn out to the White House, doubling down on President Trump's accusation that former President Barack Obama wiretapped Trump Tower during last year's campaign. And the press secretary, Sean Spicer, saying the president has absolutely no regrets about making the unsubstantiated claim.
All right, now, no regrets. Everybody's acting like this is just horseshit. It's just another one of Donald Trump's things. It's the audience in the fucking... It's the audience at the inauguration all over again as far as these people are concerned. It's just bullshit, and we're going to look at a whole bunch of pictures about other things, and we're going to assume that since he lied about everything else, that he's lying about this too, and it's just impossible. But yet, he feels certain. He feels adamant about this. Kind of odd when you think about it, if it was all just horseshit, right?
Let's see. David, I'm going to start with you. Tonight, multiple top Republicans say that they have seen no evidence that the former president, Barack Obama, wiretapped President Trump. Listen to this.
We don't have anything today that would send us in that direction, but that's not to say that we might not find something.
I don't know what the basis of his statement is, so I really can't comment on that.
Have you seen any evidence of that, Mr. Leader? Senator Gardner.
No, I haven't.
I have not. I mean, I have not seen that evidence. As you know, I think that a lot of that was maybe a little bit the multiple tweets were perhaps a little bit strung together.
So, but the White House is not backing down from their claim that they want an investigation. An investigation based on what, though?
All right. So, all these Republicans were paraded out, and they don't have a clue what the fuck's going on. Right? That makes sense to me. This kind of an allegation is huge. This isn't just, oh, I had a shit ton of people watch me get inaugurated. This is the former president of the United States was using illegal wiretaps on me. This isn't a light subject. It isn't surprising to me that he's not on Twitter telling everybody how he knows about this. He's telling them that he knows about this. People need to know that this sort of thing happened. But I don't think that in this point in an investigation, it's even realistic for the president to come out and say why he knows this sort of thing. Now, you know, when people are getting sued and they go on shows or whatever and they say, well, tell us about the lawsuit. And they say things like, I'm not allowed to talk about it right now. What does that mean? What do you think that means? That means that they don't want to corrupt the investigation. They don't want to corrupt the trial. So they're not going to just throw out to everybody, this is what happened and this is my perspective and blah, 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 blah. Because that doesn't work. It's not good. And I think it's illegal. I think it's actually illegal. I think you can be sued for that kind of shit. So to say, well, why isn't he telling us how he knows all this stuff? Well, dummies, because there's got to be an investigation that takes place. Shut the fuck up and wait. That's it. Wait. It'll happen. Don't worry.
Why lie?
I have a new theory, which, and I laughed because David was right, saying that. I mean, imagine having to defend this. It's just an amazing thing. It seems to me that President Trump is not actually speaking to us anymore. He's speaking, I think, to the 44 or so % of people who approve of his performance. By the way, Richard Nixon had slightly better numbers on the day in April of '73 when Bob Haldeman and John Ehrlichman resigned. And so for people who are charting this historically, that's kind of where the numbers are.
See, my question is here, who the fuck cares? Like, I would expect a historian and an author to want to bring up shit from the past, but who the fuck cares? I don't give a shit about Nixon. I don't care about his numbers. I don't give a flying rat's fucking ass. And I don't understand why that's important to this. But hey, we're comparing him to Nixon. So that works in our favor, right?
I think that he's now, and perhaps always has been, simply speaking to his base. He's made.
But is that 44%? Pardon the interruption. They believe when he tells mistruth. Are you saying that they believe that?
I think that enough of them do, or he wouldn't be doing it.
Okay.
I really do. I think that he puts this out there. And people who don't follow this as obsessively as the rest of us, who in other parts of their life are probably healthier, therefore.
See, that kind of makes me laugh. Like, I don't really follow all of this obsessively, but I do follow all of it. I pay attention to more than one subject at a time. When multiple things come out, I look at all of it. Apparently not many other people have been doing that. I've seen one other person that has drawn the same conclusion that I have. And I still waited in the hopes that Donald Trump would come out and say something about it before I decided to make this. But I really don't think that's going to happen for a long time. So I'm making this now just to kind of plant the idea in people's heads of what I think is going on. Because while I might not be obsessing over this, I do pay attention to the broader picture. And I think you can do that and glean a hell of a lot more information out of something than you will obsessing over it piece by piece.
But I think it becomes part of a kind of catastrophic news environment where people believe that, well, wait, didn't Obama wiretap him? We never saw that birth certificate. I mean, it's just these continual post-truth stories that at a certain point have a corrosive effect on the public trust.
And see, that made me laugh. Because the whole time he was saying that shit, I was thinking about the media. Especially the new news organization that he's on, saying all this. So, they're setting themselves up here to look really stupid. Like, you say what you want to about Donald Trump. Does he act like a fucking goof? Yeah. Does that lull people into a false sense of security about making claims that he's a moron? Absolutely. That's a smart man. He has made more money than most of us will ever make in our lives, multiple times over. And when I say that, I mean he's made fortunes, risked them, lost them, made them again, risked them, lost them, made it again. This man, he attracts money. It clings to him. I don't understand how. And then he became the president of the United States. Even with everything that happened, he still became president of the United States. The man is not an idiot. And I really, honestly, truthfully do not believe that he says anything without a damn good reason. And I really, honestly, truthfully believe that he wouldn't say this, make these accusations, treason accusations against a former president without good reason? Come on, man. How stupid do you think we are?
Yeah. And I think that for those of us who, and we were talking last Tuesday, those of us who think that he's trying to lead the whole country, it's like Lucy in the football. Every time we go, he pulls it away.
And yet you dumb fucks still line up ready to charge at that ball, don't you? It just makes me laugh.
Yeah. Hey, David, I have something that's just speaking of, we were talking about the wiretapping thing. This is from the Wall Street Journal.
Which should make this really, really good.
I want to get your response to that. They're saying that the former president is livid, President Obama livid over the Trump allegations. He said, but he was livid. This is a quote from the Wall Street Journal. He was livid over the accusation that he bugged the Republican campaign offices, believing that Mr. Trump was questioning both the integrity of the office of the president and Mr. Obama himself. People familiar with his thinking said.
Now, see, that makes me laugh, because you could hear how strong he started reading that statement. And clearly he doesn't do prep work. He didn't read that shit ahead of time. You could hear when he started to catch up, when he realized, oh shit, that isn't actually a quote from the president. That's a quote from Who Gives a Fuck. Now I'm gonna play two parts of that last section again for you. They're very important when you play them back to back.
He was livid. This is a quote from the Wall Street Journal. People familiar with his thinking said.
This is a quote from the Wall Street Journal. And then they go on to talk about how Obama is livid, which makes you think that's a quote from Obama, but it isn't. It's a quote from people who know Obama really well. What the fuck does that matter? Who are these people? What kind of a source is, oh, I know him really well? Is it his wife? I could believe it if it was his wife. But if it's Michelle Obama, why the fuck wouldn't you say Michelle Obama said he's livid? No, it's somebody who knows him really well. Well, I don't concern somebody who knows somebody else really well. I don't really consider that as a fucking reliable source for information. Because how the fuck do I know that you even know them at all? Who are you? What is your source? This is great. I love when CNN and the Wall Street Journal team up for great journalism.
What's your response to that?
Well, I don't have a response to it. Just knowing him as I do, I'm sure he was livid. And
here we go again. So the person who gave the Wall Street Journal that quote is just as reliable as that asshole right there. Well, I don't really know what to say about that, but knowing him as well as I do, I bet he's livid pissed. You know what? I don't know the former president at all. Never met the man. I really don't know him deep down inside in any way. All I've seen is what he did for the 8 years that he was president. That's it. That's all I know about the man. And I'm willing to bet he was pretty pissed. Like, who the fuck wouldn't be? You've been accused of high treason, right? So, fucking, if you did it, I'd be pissed too. If I didn't do it, I'd be doubly pissed. But, who gives a shit if he's upset? I don't fucking care. It's basic to me that he's pissed off. Really? He's angry? Wow, that's amazing. Wow.
Less livid about himself. I don't think anybody believes Barack Obama. I mean, it may be that John's right, that there's a core of President Trump's supporters who may believe it, but I think the broader public doesn't believe that. If anybody knows anything about how all of this works, it's impossible to believe this scenario.
It's impossible to believe this.
But I think any rationally thinking person cannot come to the conclusion that this is true.
Any rational thinking person cannot come to the conclusion that this is true.
I want to get to another important story because you have now gone public with a situation you believe mirrors a little bit of what the president is saying has happened to him. This allegation that there was some kind of wiretapping. There are a lot of investigations going on saying they're going to look into that. You say something similar happened to you back in 2011. You say this: I can vouch for the fact that extracurricular surveillance does occur regardless of whether it is officially approved. I was wiretapped in 2011 after taking a phone call in my congressional office from a foreign leader. Why did you feel the need to speak out now?
Well, it's important because there are people who are saying about President Trump's claim, oh, it could never happen. Well, frankly, it happened to me. And I had proof because the Washington Times actually let me listen into a tape that was made of a conversation in my congressional office. It was a conversation between myself and a foreign leader. The conversation was approved and cleared by House attorneys who said, yes, you can do that. That's your constitutional right. But someone had intercepted it. And I learned about it 2 years after I left office. Members of Congress ought to be aware that my experience was that my phone wasn't safe in a congressional office. Now, if they can do that to a member of Congress, they can certainly do it to a presidential candidate, and they can do it to private citizens as well. Hello, America.
So it's completely impossible to believe. Nobody with a rational mind could possibly believe that a high-ranking official could be wiretapped. Well, at the time Donald Trump is claiming that he is wiretapped, he was just a businessman. He was a citizen. That's it. So if they can tap a congressman, it's not ridiculous to think that they couldn't tap Donald Trump.
Donald Trump is a marketer. He is a brander. He is a reader of audiences. He thinks this sells to his base, and it may sell to his base. The question is, how do you govern this way, and ultimately, where does it all lead? And I'm not sure he has a very good concept of that.
See, another thing that made me laugh, because those comments are going to come back to bite you someday, I think. Everybody who's saying this shit, it's all going to come back to bite you someday. I might be wrong. I've been wrong before, and if I'm wrong, I will apologize. But I don't think I'm wrong on this one. I think this has got some pretty good feet underneath him for this claim. And I'm going to get to that. But first, what does the White House have to say about it? Donald Trump has not come out, as far as I know, officially and made a statement. But Mike Pence did. So let's listen to that.
Well, what I can say is that the President and our administration are very confident that the congressional committees in the House and Senate that are examining issues surrounding the last election, the run-up to the last election, will do that in a thorough and equitable way. They'll look at those issues. They'll look at other issues that have been raised.
So, Nate, I mean, that was a total and complete dodge if anyone has ever seen one. But
was it a dodge? Because didn't sound like he said, I'm not going to answer that question. Didn't sound like he answered a completely different question. It sounded like he answered that question. I'm not going to say anything about it because there needs to be an investigation. That sounds pretty fucking direct, Don. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what you heard, but I heard, I'm not saying anything about it until there's an investigation. Proper channels, motherfucker.
Even though the president said Saturday he just found out about the alleged spying, the White House still won't say where he actually found it, kicking it to Congress to investigate instead.
Now, Saturday, Donald Trump sent out that tweet saying, I recently found out that I was wiretapped by Obama. All right? That's a very important date to remember. Last Saturday, 1 week ago from today, he did that. Very important to remember. What does Sean Spicer have to say?
They made it very clear that they have the staff, the resources, and the process. I think that's the appropriate place for this to handle.
Why would the president want Congress to investigate for information he already has?
I think there's a separation of powers aspect here.
Why expend those resources and staff if the president found out this information and hasn't?
I think there's a difference between directing the Department of Justice, which may be involved in an ongoing investigation, and asking Congress as a separate body to look into something and add credibility to the look.
Now this makes total sense to me. I don't know why it doesn't make sense to anybody else, and I don't know why that lady is doing this. He's just got to tell us where he got his information and we'll all just believe him. Listen and believe. That's so stupid. So everybody wants to know where he got this information from. And it's not that hard to find out, really, when it comes down to it. And it's not silly to me that he would want to have a completely separate third-party organization like Congress to investigate this. The Justice Department is already looking into Trump over the whole Russia thing. So they're involved in an investigation on him already. To involve them into another investigation on his claims, I think, would be irresponsible. You need to have a third-party people look into this. Now, the reasons why you need to have a third-party look into this. The reasons why Donald Trump isn't saying anything about where he's gotten this information from. The reasons why everybody is so confused is because they're paying attention to his tweet. Again, everybody's so focused on Donald Trump's fucking tweet, they are not paying attention to everything else. They are missing the forest because of the tweets. It's ridiculous. It's so stupid. Especially since Saturday Donald Trump said this, and Tuesday we got WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks came out with their Vault 7 release. 8,000 plus documents from the CIA. Now, if you don't know exactly what the CIA is, let me inform you. It is a private organization that collects intelligence for the president and his cabinet. They're his employees. So he can't really investigate them himself. They're his employees. There's a conflict of interest there. He needs to have a third party look into it. Can't have the Department of Justice do it because they're already investigating him on something else. So he needs to have Congress investigate it because they're what's left. They're the last branch of government that isn't in some way compromised, that doesn't have a conflict of interest somehow, and that can actually look into an organization like the CIA. Now, what the Vault 7 WikiLeaks has shown us is a list of things. I'm going to read you some of them. The CIA had espionage division more powerful than the NSA with no checks and balances. The CIA's secret hacking division produced a huge amount of weaponized malware to infest iPhone, Android phones, and lost control of it. They neglected to see, their negligence sees it losing control of cyber weapon arsenal as serious proliferation concerns. Now, these aren't like bombs, missiles. These aren't physical things. They're imaginary. They're fake. They're ones and zeros on a computer screen. They don't really exist. So to lose a cache of weaponized malware, that's not difficult because somebody doesn't have to break into a government facility to snatch them up. They just have to get online and be good enough to get them. And there's a lot of people out there that can get online and be good enough to get them. And it's scary that they had these things just sitting around where people could get access to them. But I want to go down to, where is it down here? Now, the CIA can't just make this stockpile of weaponry without approval from somebody higher than them. They report directly to the president. Who's higher than that? Nobody. So who would it have to be that would approve the construction of all of these weapons? It would have to be the president. Now, it's not President Trump. He's only been in office for a little more than a month. So it would have to be Obama. And if you look down where it says WikiLeaks implies Trump was spied on with this, and if you notice right above that it says Obama administration used their advanced cyber attack arsenal against private citizens, well, there's a hell of a lot more grounds for this case now, isn't there? It isn't so silly that he would come out and say, I think Obama wiretapped me. Because he has WikiLeaks, a proven organization that has proven themselves time and again to be correct in their leaks, in their government information. He's got them. That's his proof. And that shit needs to be thoroughly investigated. But it can't be investigated by Trump because it's about him. He's making the claim. It can't be investigated by the DOJ because they're investigating Trump already. So who does it have to go to? Congress. And they have to look into the claims made by WikiLeaks through these leaked documents. And if there's any grounds, any possibility that this shit actually happened, former President Obama is in some deep fucking shit. And I wish him the best to get through it. But unless this all winds up being horse shit, it looks really bad. I mean, they can find out that WikiLeaks is all bullshit, none of this is actually real, and they'll investigate to find that out, and then we can put them out of our minds. And if they find out that this isn't real, that doesn't really reflect poorly on Donald Trump, in my opinion. He's stating information that he had from a valid source. Because right now, WikiLeaks can only be considered as a valid source. It's the reason why they're still active. It's the reason why they're still working. It's the reason why the people that work for that company are still alive. So, I don't know. It looks like a sticky wicket. And like I said, I wish President Obama the best in his upcoming trial, but this shit doesn't look good. It doesn't look good at all. So it'll be interesting to see if Donald Trump's numbers still look like Nixon's whenever all this kind of comes to light and whenever the investigations take place and we begin to learn new things about this. But I think he's going to be trading places with Obama as far as the Nixon numbers are concerned when this is all done.